Testing. All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is 5:35 p.m. This is the Town of Dighton Open Space Committee regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. It is 5:30 p.m. We're meeting on the Prime Time building in the conference room at 1059 Somerset Avenue in Dighton, Massachusetts. You can join this meeting on Zoom. The meeting ID is 852-3994-1073. The passcode is 123722. You can dial in by phone at area code 646-931-3860. This meeting is being recorded. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We're accustomed to set our next meeting date at the beginning of each meeting. Is there a motion on the table to entertain Wednesday, January 28th, 2025? Just for the record, that is the second Wednesday. It's been approved by the Board of Selectmen office because the week before that obviously would be a federal holiday. Now, if there's any conflicts, we don't have to set this now. But just keep in mind that it's just kind of how it rolls next month with the first being a Wednesday.
Well, the only question I have is if it's the second Wednesday, there's a Board of Selectmen meeting?
Not in this room though.
No, but Zoom-wise, we're gonna get booted off.
There is a backup Zoom channel that we can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we know that now.
I thought we were changing the time and the location next month. Is that not?
So I thought we agreed to the time. I don't remember. I know we talked about the location. I thought that shifting it later meant that we would have more help setting up, so we didn't have,
okay.
and the setup was
So
the
we're
reason for the
staying here.
location.
Okay. So we're doing still Wednesday, just later on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which and wait, this is wrong. What was the date you said?
Wednesday, January 8th.
Oh, that's the second. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. That's
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the next meeting date will be Wednesday, January 8th, 2025 at 5:45 p.m. at the Prime Time Building Conference Room.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I did get ahead of myself. I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and do a roll call too, just for the record.
Good evening, Leonard Hall.
Danica Vilnap, clerk.
And Robert Gear, chairman. I'm checking to see if there's anybody in the waiting room. It doesn't appear to be. It looks like we do have a quorum. All right, next up, chairman's address. It comes with bittersweet feelings that I let the committee know that I'm gonna have to actually step off of the committee effective at the end of the month. My family, my immediate family, not our big family extended, obviously we're all here in Dighton, but my immediate family and I moved to New Bedford recently, and we weighed whether or not a majority of our time was spent here at home or in the apartment for work, and at the time it's just I'm spending more time away from Dighton, so it would be the right thing to do for the town and in my position here to have a stable life if I come back, because this will be where I will be back one day with the family home and everything that's here. It's not now, unfortunately. So my focus is shifting away from Dighton for a moment. So we'll be, it is, I'd be remiss to say that it's been a pleasure and to serve at the local level and to know that, a piece of government has, seated in me, and thanks to sitting next to the two and extended by three, Mr. Gale sitting with you folks is my way into a fantastic experience. So I also want to leave on just as good of a note, because I would be in a real pickle if I ever had a life that developed in New Bedford where I work and now live, and still tried to serve up here, and wanted to come back and do that one day and not connect the way I want it to. So I want it to connect back the right way and leave the right way also. So
Right.
that's happening. So I do wish everybody luck. I'd be happy to also leave you copies of all my notes just in case you want to see all the stuff as it like pertain to that kind of stuff, whatever I can do to ensure the success of the committee carrying on. I've also put feelers out into the community. A relative is on one of the boards of another town committee up in the village, so I'm trying to see if I can get somebody to come on that would be interested in this sort of voluntary position also.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
So,
Nick Nunes, by the way, from the
This-
water,
I'm
from
sorry.
North Dayton Water District. I've tried to see if his sister would like to. She's in the wastewater business, so.
okay. So this will be your last meeting or?
This will actually be my last meeting. That's why I was really like leaving it up to you guys, what you want to do with that next one, if you didn't want to set it in this moment. I didn't want to push that on you because
Well,
that's that.
Jonathan's not here to weigh in, so we tentatively plan it and then we'll reach out to Jonathan.
Well, I mean, I don't see why we wouldn't keep the date, it's a different week, but because of the holiday, but.
I mean, Karen and
We'll just keep
Leanne,
it.
approved that day, which is, I
Yeah.
Okay.
got that
If-
And we
January
have
8th from
the room.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
It's easy to
doesn't-
cancel than try to get it.
Right,
Yeah, if it
later.
doesn't work for Jonathan, we can change it, but I think we should plan through that.
Yes,
Thank you for booking it for us.
absolutely, yeah, and I confirm you should be all set for every first Wednesday of every month next year also in this room should. From 5:30 to 7:30 is the time slot, FYI, on record. So if you ever needed to go beyond 7, you do have that.
5:30 to 7:30?
Yeah, that is the official time period for this.
okay.
But that would, it's a very long meeting.
Well, thank you for your service.
No, thank you
You've
guys,
done an
thank you.
excellent job in
Thank you.
keeping us,
Did really good. As chairman,
aimed
you
and
did it.
moving forward. We'll miss you for sure.
I will miss you guys. Oh, I miss the committee and the town. I mean, this is, my first where I landed in Massachusetts, so.
So you're not living in Dayton any longer?
I took residency on October 1st and it was just gonna be an apartment, Monday through Thursday night is a way to be closer to where, I am during the week. But my in-laws were very, liked the idea, so, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So there we went. And it was time, 4.5 years after the pandemic, it worked out really well to get our feet grounded here when we moved, from Texas, but,
Well, congrats.
thank you. So enough about me, though. Let's see what the public has to say tonight. All right, I don't see anybody online. Is that a notification? Okay, all right. How about old business? We have on tonight's agenda this committee update for the cleanup day. If there are any updates.
No, they're not. Jonathan is not present. We've established the date of April 12th with a possible rain date of April 19th. At some point in time, we're going to need to reach out to the Board of Selectmen to advise them of our plans. We don't, I believe, need official approval, but it's just a,
Yeah, I think
Courtesy.
we're erring on the side of respect and decorum.
right.
Yeah. I think also we talked about donations and that sort of thing. And I know that was, whether you want to call it a hot topic or not, but whether or not if the committee had any response, let me rephrase, if the committee had any ability to talk about that with the public, fundraise, or if that can even be done through the line, like can it be channeled through a nonprofit in town, an existing one, you know what I
You'd
mean?
have to ask them, or
Okay.
the other possibility is having a meeting with the TA and with Serena to set up an account, like the library has done. And I believe Kevin and Park and Rec has done, so that they can funnel monies into it.
And that's all governed by town hall? Essentially, like,
And the Board of Selectmen, they would have to.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant, yeah.
But what you wanna do first is meet with the town administrator to see if Serena and he are on board. And then once you work out, have a formal plan, then it's a lot easier to go before the Board of Selectmen with a plan, with the blessings of the TA and town accountant. And the likelihood of passage is that much better than if you go in there and try to do it on the seat of your pants. It may not fly with the Board of Selectmen, so.
Well, money is a funny thing.
What, you know,
Rightfully so.
you go in there professional and bang, 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 and it's hard for them to say no.
Forgive me, who's Serena?
She is the town accountant.
A town accountant, and that is not the same as the town treasurer, no?
No,
Oh, okay.
No.
Serena.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Serena Amro sets up the accounts and monitors them as well.
Fantastic. Good information. Thank you, Mr. Hall. The other thing I believe we were talking about would be, yeah, I think that's kind of it for that one right there,
Yes,
according to my notes.
at this, you know, when Jonathan is not here, yes.
Yeah. And then, I mean, if that's that, we can move on if you like. Yeah, might as well. Okay, let's
Yeah,
keep
because I
it.
have some things under new business.
Perfect. All right, so then let's go ahead and move on to new business. Item number 8, we're discussing, reviewing and acting on committee goals.
Should we make a motion to post to, what's it called, table
Table 23 to the next meeting?
for the next meeting?
Absolutely.
Make that motion.
Yes. I'll second that.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Leonard Howes and I.
Danica Belknap, aye.
Robert Gibbs, aye. Motion carries. All right. Moving on to committee goals, short and long term. I think those are two different things. Short and or long term would be a better categories. If I'm not mistaken, from memory of how we discussed last time, with some short ones. It was suggested that maybe they are SMART goals. I think I remember bringing that up, that they're specific, measured.
You know, we've had several discussions about action items, such as environmental activities, environmental equity needs, community education. So I think we do have a direction. It's just a matter of, one, identifying specific things that need to be accomplished, short-term and long-term, and also prioritizing them. You know, I had at the last, they're going to request through the Board of Selectmen a name change from the Dayton Industrial and Economic Committee to just Dayton Economic Committee. And it was a very good meeting in the sense that, one, the DDIC is quite willing and eager to sit down with this board and talk about and identifying open space land and the potential use of open space land. There's land out there, both owned by the town and private individuals who are open to discussions about what to use that land for. And that is something that TDIC also has the map of the land, the zoning, what's available, and who owns what. So they would be a great resource to us. But as we look at the town and what lands are available out there, it's a stronger approach, if you will, if it's more than just open space advocating. One of the members of DDIC is Laura Smith. And we talked at our last meeting of how it appeared, discussions at the Selectmen's meeting, that the Agricultural Commission was going to cease to function. But thanks to the efforts of Laura Smith, Barbara Catavia, and Ken Arujo, they are determined to bring back that organization.
So going back to open space. Didn't tie this together for us.
Regarding open space, there are several pieces of land, including one that Mr. Arujo is kindly using right now, renting, that have the potential to be used for farming. Or take it one step further, dual purpose. And that would be a farming solar project similar to what is on Tremont Street.
So again, though, but how does that's not open space. We're here to talk about open space
Well, we
tonight.
would identify what lands are available in the town and what other potential use.
So I'm just curious, I've tried to listen to what you're saying. I'm pretty sure that there's already a plan in front of us to work on, that we don't need to recreate the wheel at this point. We need to work on short and long-term goals of stuff that exists here. We've already gone through this and identified what's important, what's not, what needs to be brought up and what can't be. Everything you just said, we've done. So,
Have you met with those committees to see if their priorities and if they can be of any help?
so based on the direction, well, I mean, you're asking kind of a blanket question and I can't give you a blanket answer. You need to be more specific. Based on these bullet points and what we've talked about in the past, yes, I have reached out to the committees that we've guided me to reach out to. Parks and Rec is the one who has the most availability. That's
Okay.
where I would start. If you're looking to bridge with another committee. Now, I'm not saying we can't do Laura Smith and Ag and all that,
Okay,
but we were kind of going down a rabbit hole of all these other committees and how they're functioning, and we're here to talk about open space tonight.
so what you're saying is Park and Rec.
Park and Rec was open, yeah, receptive to, and what we've got here in section 9 are several bullet points that include Parks and Rec as a partner, or what we would call a local lead or potential partner. So like other committees or boards as they relate to getting the project moving. So like to start from number 1 and move our way down. Action item number 4 looks like has a Park and Rec space. You know, we could just, I mean, we can go back through section 9 now because this is the plan, this is the approved plan that's in front of us.
Right,
You know, I mean, this is the document that the Board of Selectmen have given us to work off of. I think that,
Oh.
yeah, this
so
is
this
our,
wasn't created by the open space committee?
No, sir, this was created, well, in part by the Open Space Committee, but
Open Space
but
Committee.
it is, all of these people gave time,
Right.
including people on the Board of Selectmen,
Okay,
to get this thing going, I believe in 2019 or 20 for 2021. So this is the document, this is our living, this is our marketing plan, this is our budget, this is our operating direction, if you will, section 9. So that's why I thought we spent all summer going through this, line, bullet point by bullet
So I
point.
think what you were saying though is relevant to one of the actions here about like prioritizing land for acquisition. Is that what you're talking
Yes,
about? Like
absolutely.
identifying parcels so that we could
absolutely.
help to acquire open space parcels?
And having their input helps us determine how our priorities.
Yeah.
If it's not an interest to these other groups, then it really shouldn't be a priority of ours, because we'd be spinning our wheels, because we're not gonna get a whole lot of
Well, we
support.
might have different priorities than,
I mean, these are our priorities right here. These are laid out in front of you.
it's the DDIC committee you were mentioning?
I'm sorry,
The DDIC is who you mentioned?
they are interested in sitting down and reviewing.
So, okay, so they're like already familiar with us and are interested in maybe partnering with us on this?
What I would,
Possibly, partnering would depend upon
Maybe not partnering, but like. having a
definitely sitting down with us.
conversation.
And the beauty is they have the map, that these are the potential lands that are out there.
Yeah,
What do you want to do with them? Who would best be served by that? Is it something we should work to try to increase industry? Is it something that, no, it's such that it might be better conservation or park and rec? You know, one of the things that we had at a meeting with the planning board was passive recreation and hunting. You know, is there some land out there that we might be able to acquire that will have two purposes? One, it'll remain open space and help to maintain the integrity of what we're trying to keep in Dayton. And in the same token, create a couple months of the year seasonal hunting. So, again, the more people you bring, the more groups you bring in to support your idea, the more likely it is to pass when you're trying to get 2 votes on the Board of Selectmen or the planning board to support it, if that be the group that's needed.
I mean, my opinion on it is, we're kind of the small the small group in the big pond here. There's other committees that have authority, and there's boards that have authority, and we're here putting together cleanup days and volunteer stuff, which is our fundamental purpose of that, and that should be the spirit of it behind it too. But I want to make sure that those bigger fish in the pond take the time to get to know us, like we've taken the time to get to know them. And this document lives online. If anybody wants to read just section 9, I mean, it will take no more than 10 minutes for anybody who wants to get to know open space, to know what has been laid out before us to work on. And if, as we did, they want to go through this and identify where they can jump in, and as we did, reached out to others and said, can we help you? They could say, can we help open space? And we have the same opportunity to say, yes, we would love to help, because that's the position we're in, right? And I think I'll speak for myself, but I think that's kind of the essence of this. I like that these people are talking to you. And
I went to their meeting.
No, and that's good,
and I
that's
said, hey, look.
fantastic. But this is us right here. I think it would be of greatest help for them to say, look, we know we can move this needle, but if you guys help us with, get a grant written, whatever, I don't know, it's a bad example, but you know what I mean? Like because we really don't know. I mean, we went through 34 bullet points, and You know, we kind of like got a 50% response rate with what we reached out for. If we turn the table and say, hey, well, what do you guys need help with? This is what we're geared towards working on.
Mhm.
And I think that would be a good use of time. You know, we're not asking them to read the whole thing, just these bullet points, where do they fit in?
I mean, they weren't looking to come to a 1 hour discussion, you know what I'm saying? Maybe no more than an hour discussion, being an agenda item to sit in, either more likely a representative of their board, like a Danny Higgins or a Laura Smith, that would show to say, how can we work together for a common goal? The one thing with DDIC that I like is they have the map of the whole town and the zoning as well as current use, and also available land. So you can look at that and say, how about that piece? What can we use it for? And then they can, based on their experiences and their understanding of the land, they can tell you, no, it's all wet. So maybe we work out
But
something.
what authority, what motive, what do we have, what ammunition do we have to get any project moving that those organizations, those other committees don't already have? I mean, what do we have to offer them?
The
We
biggest,
don't have money, you know.
the biggest complaint that I'm hearing by a lot of committees is manpower. Time on task. They're all, most of them are volunteers.
Mhm.
They're limited in the amount of time that they can give. And the more people on the team, spread the work out more, we accomplish more. That's what I'm hearing.
That's the story of a small town.
Right.
And only so many people will step up.
So,
Well, as an advisory committee, like, we could, kind of like what you were saying, about asking them, hey, what do you need from us? Like, maybe it's more like, and like, we have our own priorities, they have their own priorities, but we could still work with them. Like, we could see, like, what are your interests in terms of land protection versus development? And we can advise on, like, which properties might be better for land protection because of their environmental values and like.
I'm just wondering who's
Maybe,
seeking our
like-
opinion at this point, you know,
Yeah,
because
well,
it's not the
yeah,
Board
I
of
mean,
Selectmen.
Part of it is like, we are meant to be an advisory committee, but no one's asking us to advise them, so we need to build those relationships
Right, exactly.
with the other committees.
So, yes,
And
okay,
be
so
like, hey, we're here,
that's-
this is what we do, like, let's collaborate.
Now, that sounds like a goal
Yeah,
that sounds
short-term
like,
goal.
that in a nutshell, I think is the right way to say it.
and I also think, we talked about this at the beginning when I came on the board, and then it kind of focused more on the specific goals that we established. Creating a land trust and funding streams for that, if done by this board, could really increase the value and stock of this board. Right now, I know conservation spends a great deal of their time on enforcement. And they're a prime example. The people have been doing it for 50 years. They don't get paid a dime. They don't have time to do quote-unquote conservation work, because they're putting out fires and dealing with developers.
May I ask a question about that, about the land trust? If open space were to spearhead that, in its totality, somewhere along the line, would the Board of Selectmen have to sign off on that for us to operate under that?
Probably, yes. But see, everything in regards to that would start with a meeting with the town administrator.
Back to square one.
Because, one, not only that, but you could bring in the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, sit down in a meeting and say, is this realistic? if they say no, well, then you know that you don't have the votes and you're just spinning your wheels.
Right.
And you don't wanna get into a political battle over that.
Absolutely not. I think that's a good use of
That's-
time.
Sitting down with them and saying, look, this is what we'd like to do. Are you guys with us or not? If they're
Yeah.
not, then we drop it.
Right. And then we move on here at the meeting level, can move on to the next bullet point.
Sure.
Sure. I mean, we could have cleanup days every month until we get popular.
Well,
And I'll be back in April with my little picker-upper trash bag.
oh, good, no, thank you. Now, it's important that open space gets its name out there, and know that we're not just a group that sits and talks.
Well, and that's kind of why I want to keep pushing us in a direction. I mean, all of your knowledge, don't get me wrong, Mr. Hall, is extremely valuable. You could write an encyclopedia about this town and still keep going. But, tonight's open space, so I like the land trust thing. I think that we're really getting somewhere by talking about the action behind it, which is, okay, we gotta get the Board of Selectmen's buy-in. But before that, maybe somebody, my successor would meet with the town administrator, or, I mean, you could even, have a one-off and just pick somebody's brain. I don't know if that wouldn't violate open meeting law, would it?
No, as long as it's
So, I
not a
mean,
quorum.
yeah, I mean, just even popping into town hall one weekend, just for the sake of saying, you know what, guys, let's move on from this for now. Or, actually, we might have something if we put together a plan.
Right.
They wanna see a plan, though, so that makes sense. So short-term goal would actually kind of like to seek buy-in from the BOS for X, Y, and Z, and then we figure out what X, Y, and Z is. And I think so far it would be to identify land and use of open space land to acquire parcels and or establish a land trust is what I understand so far. And that's just what my notes say. But again, it goes back to square one, is meeting with the town administrator. And I think that we talked in our last meeting about just being respectful of their time. That he had just jumped in and
Oh, I-
had a lot going, and it's,
This is next.
yeah, but now we're beyond special town meeting, right? Or is that, I don't get the mail.
You were right, but there is
Somebody
a
gets my
big,
mail for me now, I don't get to see.
no, there is a big issue, and,
I never got anything in the mail about that. I missed the special town meeting. I never got anything.
oh,
Don't they
yeah,
usually mail out
Yeah, it's just no warrant.
notices? I never got one.
well,
You gotta put a lock on your mailbox, man, that's what I need to tell you.
TA's new. Their biggest focus right now, and they had a subcommittee meeting today, according to the agenda, is budget. They gotta find $900,000. Because they got a bill to pay, it's called PP. And the voters do not want to see a tax hike to cover it, so that's where their focus is right now.
So they can do the debt exclusion, right?
Right. It failed.
I feel like there's always a budget
Oh.
crisis, and that's where they're always gonna be focusing their attention. They're never gonna
Putting
be
out the
interested in
fire.
our work.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, I love the enthusiasm, because that is what I rooted for a couple months ago when I said, don't let anybody knock our air out of our balloon. But I also don't want to be sitting here talking about pipe dreams all night and then nothing, there's no smoke behind it.
I think,
We can talk a real good game though, guys.
I think the best way to tackle that is that at some point in January, talk to the town administrator and establish have a meeting with him, individual, the chairman, or even if he's got the time to spend it with the members to discuss where we'd like to go and what he thinks. And the other thing is, what is his experience? Because the one good thing about Ralph is that he comes from the Cape. How do they do things down there regarding open space? And that'd be something I would like to see this board do, someday reach out to an successful open space committee in another community to come in and meet with us. This is what we do. And pick their brain.
Ipswich,
Or even
Massachusetts,
if
by
we
the
went to
way,
them.
has not only an open space committee, it's an actual manned department within their
Really?
team. Yes, sir.
Wow.
So if you want an example of an operating Ipswich, is your example
Okay.
for a full throttle open space department. Yes, sir. Ma'am.
Oh, thank you.
So, you know, I mean, what I understand so far is short-term goal is meet with the TA. Maybe a long-term goal, and I think I would say long-term because we want to have a plan behind it before we approach, would be projects, land use, land acquisition, or land trust. Is that
Yep.
a good starting point for now?
Land use, like,
I don't know, I was just repeating what Mr. Holt, land use, so I think it would be, whether, I believe it was whether
oh, like
passive
having
or active
like a
use.
land use map, like just having a better sense, like kind of establishing a map of the town where we know. the
Well, it's
different
already been
land uses.
established, but there is available land and then there's land that's already tied up. That available land, okay,
Available, I got it.
identifying that land and who goes after it, how do we go after it? In some instances, maybe the town wants to acquire it, you know, whether it be through planning board, working with a developer and the like. Or if you have a land trust, do you then reach out and see if you can buy that land
Right.
for whatever purpose, you know, we can legally do? I'm not so sure how the rules are for trying to acquire land for business use. But I know it's pretty open in the area of conservation and, from what I've been told, agriculture too. Which,
As a right to farm community, that would be, should be important,
yes,
should be. I'm not saying it's not, I don't know that it's not,
well,
but I don't know that it is either.
the biggest problem that Dayton has is that there is a lot of farmland that is very, very attractive to developers. And those developments have a major impact on the community, not only in how the community will exist, but also the actual landscape of the community.
Let me ask you a question then. Let's say we had this map you're talking about, and it was a property map of all of Dayton. And we looked at available property or property that could, farmlands, let's say farmland specific, we'll use your example. And we know that the developers can go after it or could try to. Is there a mechanism, a use, like a land use mechanism that can be put in place? But let's say the owner doesn't want to operate the land, but a town body could come in and have some sort of operation that would then prevent the developer from ever touching. Is there some sort of a mechanism that would, like, well, sorry, this land's being used, it doesn't have to be deeded, you know what I mean? It's not recorded, but it's protected, may not be by law, but it's it's governed by some sort of a use. You know, I don't know, because then what open space could get involved in is almost like planning the use of space.
Yeah, I mean, there are programs that landowners can enroll their land in and say, like, I'm designating this land for this use. There's like a forest one, an agriculture one,
So
and a recreation one,
could open space
which does kind of what you're saying.
pull that map out and say, okay, well, you know, based on those categories
I
or
think
whatever,
those
say,
ones should be in this plan, whether it's a map or like a list of properties.
yeah,
Which ones in town are designated,
it's in there.
it
Right?
should be in here. Cause it's like, yeah.
So then maybe, I mean, maybe that's one of those short, I don't know, what we talk about is getting active in soliciting our our town residents as the
Yeah,
use of their
and
land.
And one individual on agriculture that would be a huge resource, because he's a longtime Dayton resident, but he's also a farmer, and he's been a longtime member of the Ag Committee, is Kenny Arujo. You know, there is a piece of land that he is working right now that has a special designation. He could offer us a lot of insight on how do we proceed if there are more parcels of land like that. in
Right,
town.
exactly. And if that in and of itself helps keep Dayton its character that it is,
That's,
and then we also on the backside work with DDIC or what will one day be the Economic Committee
right.
on how to keep, hey, we will make sure that farmers and our residents know the value of this community. This is why you should live here or do business here.
Those were almost the exact words that Laura Smith said to me at the DDIC meeting the other night.
It's a shame
She's
I'm on the way out.
She's concerned too that Dayton's character is going to change.
I come from a town of 1,303 people in the foothills of Northern California. I've seen my town go to 4,000 people in 40 years. The character is not what it was. I would hate to see that for Dayton, and that's why I wanted to get involved here, because I believe that there is the character here that you find.
There are two
Dan
potential,
Higgins talks about it. That's why he moved here.
right,
You know, let's go.
there are two potential developments in this town that could really change the face of Dayton. And one of them is it's already started the permitting process. That's Harbor Crest.
Oh, I haven't heard that one yet.
It's off of Tremont Street.
Oh, Tremont, east of Forest,
Yes.
on the north side of that street, correct? Harbor Crest?
Arbor, A-R-B-O-R,
Arbor Crest?
yes. Now, that's a 40B. So the obstacles that they face in the permitting process are less than the one that we all know about, Forest Hills.
Yeah.
Forest Hills is a regular development. They have some major obstacles to overcome.
They really should have just resubmitted to the Concom, a new plan, in my opinion, but there they are. That would be the developer I'm speaking of.
Well,
How
Comes
easy
down to
easy
legal.
would that have been?
comes down to legal fees.
Well, the developer didn't want to spend it. Maybe we can recoup that somewhere.
But,
So yeah, Forest Hills is in our backyard, so I'm familiar with that project.
right, the odds of it passing aren't as good as Arbor Crest.
Yeah. Strawberry,
That is tied up in litigation. Strawberry Field.
Strawberry Field.
I'm not sure how that's going to go. The EPA is going to have a lot to say.
Is it wet?
It is.
Okay. No.
So I don't think EPA is going to say you can't build anything there. But I honestly believe it may not be financially a good idea for the developer if they're limited to a very small number of houses. They were hoping for 25. They're definitely not going to get 25. So it becomes a situation where, for a developer, is it worth it?
Right, of course.
And the longer it goes on, the cost of building goes up. So that becomes, is it worth it?
Right.
And it does reach a point where it isn't worth it.
There are communities right now in this county that are facing those hurdles because of whatever it might be in their way.
So I think a relevant goal for us could be, like, we're not trying to prevent development, say, but like,
No,
we
plan it.
want to identify and prioritize, like, priority lands that we want to protect from
Absolutely.
development, like,
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, our goal should be Dayton would be 100% open space, and yeah, I mean, in a perfect, I mean,
But, like, that's
you know, no
unrealistic.
resident, but I mean, that's obviously an exaggeration, but
Yeah. But yeah, like we want to be proactive and identify like what are the priority open spaces that we want to protect and recommend those to the town, like the select board, the planning board, so that when developments come up, they can say, well, this is like priority protected land, or they can like, once you know like what your priority lands are to protect, then you can direct developers to like the other areas.
And one of the things that people need to keep into consideration, Dayton has not met their 40B requirement. We are part of the, North Dayton is part of the MBTA impact zone. We do have a couple 40Bs that are in the permitting process, and that has kept the state off our backs. Because
Yes.
we are showing some attempt to meet the law. And as Maura Healy has said, it is the law. There are a couple communities that have fought them. Holden is one of them. They're in court right now over this.
So
Milton also.
Milton big time.
Dayton has been fortunate that the state hasn't put pressure on us, because that pressure will then open the door, make it easier for developers to come into the town. So while this is being mitigated, this is the opportunity for conservation and agriculture and open space to bring in land to protect it from the developer. Now is the time. Because, you know, we do have two projects, it's no secret. Forest Hills and Strawberry Fields are in court. And that's costing the taxpayers money because those lawyers don't work for free. So there's just that impact in dealing with developers. And the developers have partnered with Mass Housing Alliance. And what they've done in some instances in other communities is they beat towns down from a legal perspective.
Yeah, they shove it down.
Example, Strawberry Fields has already cost the town of Dayton over $250,000 in legal fees, and the town fighting it. How much longer can you fight before it becomes cost prohibitive for the town? So those are, you know, we can make it easier for the town if we can take some of the land off the table for the developers. If, you know, again, there are some people in this community though that want the development. They want, so it's not a clear cut, you know, and it seems to be the older generation wants to see the farming, and the younger generation that are moving in with the MBTA coming down, moving down from Boston. They want the houses, they want the ball fields, they want cultural places, they want the ability to buy stuff in town so they don't have to go out of town because they don't have a lot of time. So it's so much easier to run to the store when the store is here, not 20 miles away.
Right. How are we doing?
Okay,
Should we table this conversation? Well, let's see. We've got some things we've pulled out of, we've extrapolated, but I wanna make sure, so we've talked about meeting with the TA and we've talked about identifying available land and the use of open space land and how to go after.
yes,
We've talked about identifying or acquiring parcels. We've also talked about establishing a land trust. So would it be safe to say that the TA would be short-term and the other three would be long-term goal?
yes.
At this time, okay,
Definitely.
all right. So then if that is the goal, I don't know that we would need to table it if that, I mean, do we want to, is there a motion on the table to accept the short-term and 3 long-term goals, kind of as mentioned? Do you want me to repeat it again?
Well, I wouldn't wanna really, I would wanna do that with Jonathan, I think. I
Okay,
don't wanna leave him out.
okay.
Okay,
Absolutely, so definitely, if you would like to,
Table.
you want a motion to table it then? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do we wanna, like, just review, like, what those goals are, like? And then, so let Jonathan, he can catch up with me about it,
Absolutely.
and then like maybe next meeting, we can see if there's anything to add and.
So short-term would be meet the new town administrator.
yes,
Long-term would be to identify available land and the use of open space land and how to go after and use, well, actually, let me just, and how to go after available, is that correct?
Yes.
Available parcels. And then the third goal would be, I'm sorry, the second goal would be to acquire possible parcels or potential parcels, acquire potential parcels. And then the third goal would be to establish a land trust to do said business.
great,
We know that that is the simplified version of what we just said, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of planning that's gonna
Oh,
go
yeah.
into all of that,
Mhm.
but those are, in a nutshell, does that suffice our thoughts for the evening?
Yeah,
That you can present to Mr. Gale next month?
yeah,
yes,
Okay.
I would add maybe to the short-term list, like,
Mhm.
yes, meeting with the TA is kind of like a hard goal, but then also just trying to establish our, like, relationships with the other committees and building our reputation as a committee so that we can work towards better collaboration in the future.
I like it.
And then, yeah, so I can make a motion to, if we're all in agreement of those.
Yeah,
So I can
I
make a
said-
motion to table this discussion to next meeting, so we can make a decision with Jonathan here.
I second it.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye, Leonard Hose and I.
Danica Belknap, aye.
Barbara Gears and I. All right, is there any public input tonight? I see that we're still the only. All right, move on to our next item, which would be to approve the minutes for last meeting, from November 6th, 2024. Is there a motion on the table as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of November 6, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you, Madam Clerk, it's been a pleasure. All in favor? Okay.
Danica, aye.
Aye.
Alrighty, folks, is there a motion on the table to get home to our families and loved ones?
Before we do adjourn, since it will be our last meeting for 2024, I would like to wish the residents of Dayton a very happy holiday and a very happy and healthy new year.
Here, here.
Excellent, yeah.
And with that being said, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Leonard Hose and I.
Danica Belknap, aye.
Robert Gears and I. Thank you.
Thank you.